Okay, maybe the title is a tiny bit of hyperbole, but not too much, I promise you. While it hasn't been strictly confirmed by Universal, the stuff that we're going to talk about in this video, a bit more information has been released. There is official information and allows us to join up some dots and pretty much confirm one of the themes for Universal Studios Great Britain and actually one of the rides that we're going to be getting in the park. Now, for context, for anyone who hasn't been keeping up with this, anyone who didn't see my last video, a few days ago, the government announced that they were moving ahead with the Universal Studios project with Comcast Universal. And Universal also put out some supporting documents with that, including some concept art, like kind of a map of the park. It wasn't like blueprints, plans exactly for it. It's a piece of concept art. And I have seen a few people in the comments saying, oh, it's just concept art, don't take it too seriously. But if we look at the Epic Universe concept art compared to the actual park map that they've now released, because people are in the park, people are visiting it now, it's pretty much spot on. Like, there's a few small differences, but it's pretty accurate. So I think we can rely on this concept art to give us a decent idea of what's going to be in the park. And that's what we started looking at in the last video. Now, the focus of this video is this roller coaster that's on the left-hand side of the park. In the video before, I said maybe it'll be Fast and the Furious or something, because it looks like it's a launch coaster, looked like it had kind of a city outside, and a lot of you in the comments said, actually, it looks like it's probably Back to the Future, because the buildings outside, it looks like there's the clock tower from the end of the first Back to the Future movie. It looks like that's the kind of scene from that movie, which is quite iconic. So that makes sense that it would be a Back to the Future roller coaster. Now, of course, Back to the Future has long been a staple of the Universal Studios parks. There used to be like a simulator ride I remember going on when I was a kid and we went to Universal Studios Hollywood, where it would be a little bit like a Star Toursy type thing. Like, you would get into a DeLorean and there'd be a screen showing and you'd be like traveling through different time periods and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. And then even though that ride isn't about anymore, there still are lots of references to Back to the Future in the parks. You know, there's the train from Back to the Future 3 in Orlando. Often you'll see someone playing, you know, Dr. Emmett Brown wandering around the park, sort of saying quotes from Back to the Future. It's something that's been a part of the kind of DNA of Universal for a long while. Well, now it looks like Back to the Future is actually getting its own roller coaster in Universal Studios Great Britain, Universal UK. I hope they actually properly confirm the name at some point soon. Universal have secured a trademark for Back to the Future, and you can actually look up the usage in this. This is in the UK, by the way. You can look up the usage that they've secured for this, and it talks about clothing and it talks about toys, but it also talks about a theme park attraction. So, you know, maybe a roller coaster. This sort of trademark application is actually how we found out about a lot of the rides that ended up coming to Epic Universe. And it's not final. That's important to note. Like with Epic Universe, there were a few rides where they applied for one trademark. I think with Starfall Racers, that was called something else. Like they changed it halfway through because one of the trademarks got rejected. So things can change after this point, but it definitely is sort of a part of their process before they go ahead with the planning permission and everything like that. So this is something that we've seen before with Epic Universe, and all of the sort of speculation based on it ended up being right. So I think we can rely on this and pretty much take it as confirmation that a Back to the Future roller coaster is going to be coming to the park. And based on what we've seen in the concept art, it looks like it's this one on the left-hand side of the park. So what can we expect from the ride? It's worth turning the video off now if you don't want any spoilers, just in case my speculation ends up being right. I'll give you a moment. Okay, now you're in it. I'm going to try and say what I think this ride will be, and fingers crossed that I'm right about this. So it looks like an Intamin coaster with LSM launches, linear synchronized motors, something like that, magnets and electricity to launch it. Think like Velocicoaster or Hagrid over in Islands of Adventure. And it also looks like it's going to be using switch track. So that's when a coaster train can kind of go over a piece of track, the track can change behind it, and then it can actually roll backwards and end up on a new piece of track. So the way the layout goes, from what I can see, I think inside the main show building, we'll get some kind of pre-show, we'll get some kind of pre-ride scenes that will explain what's going on. Maybe we're testing a new type of time machine or something like that. And I bet we'll board trains, and the front of it will probably look like a DeLorean, and the back of it will have the flux capacitor time machine on the back of the trains. And I guess we'll board on it, and then it will go into a tunnel and then launch at 88 miles an hour, because that's kind of the magic number in the films that they have to reach to do time travel. Then I think there'll be some light effects and stuff like that, smoke and stuff while we're launching, and then we'll break out into the sunshine, or it's England, so into the grey drizzle probably, and then straight into this kind of weird bump thing, and then up the first big spike. Now, because we're traveling 88 miles an hour, somebody on Coaster Force called Ben Jacobs did some quick maths and suggested that if we're launching at 88 miles an hour and there was no friction or air resistance, it could reach 259 feet up this spike. Now, of course, England generally isn't in a vacuum, and friction does exist in this universe, so it won't reach that high. But it's interesting that with those kind of numbers, this could be threatening Hyperia as the UK's tallest coaster. It's not unreasonable to think that the spike that we're going to be going up, we could reach higher than the 236 feet, which is Hyperia's maximum height. So this could be the UK's new tallest roller coaster, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, we'll go up this spike. Then I'm guessing there'll be some sort of like onboard audio saying like, oh no, we've lost control, we've lost power. And then you'll fall back down the spike. The track would have switched behind you, so then you'll go through some elements backwards. Then you'll end up traveling up the second spike. And then when you're traveling up that second spike, you'll probably hear something, because you'll be going up this backwards. You'll hear something saying, oh, we've got it under control again. You'll hear all the engines start up again, and you'll go around the rest of the layout. Now, I wouldn't be surprised. It would make sense story-wise if there was a second launch up to 88 miles an hour, so they could say, okay, you're going fast enough to be able to get back to your own time. But it doesn't really look like the track is long enough for that, unless there's like a substantial indoor portion. But I don't think the building looks like it's big enough for that. So maybe there'll be a second launch. I'm guessing probably not. We'll probably just end up coming back into the building, and there'll be a bit of a light show. It'll be like, hey, you got back okay. And then we'll pull into the station and get off. I'm guessing that's how the ride will end up going. Now, this to me seems like a great idea for a ride. That sounds like it'll be super fun. 88 miles an hour is a very, very fast launch. It's not like the fastest in the world or anything like that, but it is incredibly quick. It's much faster than a lot of the other launched rides that we've seen built over the last few years. And that means it'll be going up a spike that will be very, very tall. Like Hyperia at 236 feet, you can see, if you're landing on a plane in Heathrow, you can see Hyperia all the way from Heathrow very, very clearly. It's a big coaster. So if this is even taller than that, it's going to make for quite an impressive sight as you're approaching the park. And I think that's really, really cool. Now, in terms of the other rides around the park, I have seen a BBC article where they talk about an insider source letting them know that what the other themes are going to be. And they said it's going to be Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Minions, James Bond for the sort of Waterworld type show, Paddington, and Lord of the Rings. Now, I would take that with a massive grain of salt, because we have no idea who that insider source is. It could be someone that works in Universal, or it could be some theme park enthusiast who's speculating the way we are and just misrepresented themselves to the BBC. I'm going to wait for a little bit more confirmation before I decide that the other ones are definitely going ahead. For what it's worth, right now, I feel pretty confident that it'll be Back to the Future for this ride, and then Jurassic Park, because we can see the kind of buildings on the concept art, Minions, because the Minions area looks the same as the one in Beijing, Paddington. People on the Coaster Force forum identified that there's what looks like a marmalade jar in the little kiddie area, and I guess James Bond doesn't feel like too much of a stretch. I still don't think there's that much indication that there's a Lord of the Rings area. Maybe this area that's got kind of some light buildings near the Jurassic Park area, maybe that could be Lord of the Rings, and the other coaster could be a Lord of the Rings coaster, which would be pretty cool. For what it's worth, in the comments, I was saying that this building was Shrek, and I know lots of the comments were saying, no, it looks like it'll be Wicked because it's purple and green. Other people were saying maybe it's Lord of the Rings. I still think it's Shrek. Somebody on the Coaster Force forums again, this was Niles, identified that the building outside looks just like the tavern from Shrek 2. So I'm still saying that I think this is a Shrek ride. Maybe not the same Shrek ride we've seen in other parks, but I think it is a Shrek ride, to be honest. Anyway, Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is definitely a Back to the Future roller coaster? What are you thinking the other themes are right now? A huge thanks for all of the support I had on the last video. I had loads of new subscribers, so welcome to the channel. Thank you for sticking with me. If you want more news like this, where I'm actually waiting for something a bit more reliable, a bit more concrete, I'm not going to waste your time with silly little rumors and things like that, make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on, leave a like on this video if you liked it, a dislike if you didn't, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.